Hello and welcome to Four Wales See Wales with me, Mel Owen.
Me, Robin Morgan.
Me, Will Hayward.
You sound different.
Do I?
Yeah.
Do you see trees of green?
Thank you so much, guys. Yes, I have been unwell. I woke up on Sunday with no voice at all. I tried to go through the Starbucks drive-through and couldn't order and had to show them on my notes app what I wanted. It was that bad.
Like you're requesting a song in a club.
Yeah. All I got to the DJ, play Cha-Cha Slide.
Madam, this is a drive-through.
But on Saturday, it was starting to go and I was like, guys, is this sexy? And my friends were like, no, it sounds very ill. I was like, never mind.
Yeah.
But I was panicking that my voice wasn't going to come back by today, but it is. I think this is understandable at most, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know
think
what
it
I'm
sounds
saying?
good.
Really?
I think it sounds good.
Thank you. I drove down from Aberystwyth this morning and I was singing different songs, like just to see, like, you know, in the raspy tone, what sounded good. A lot of Amy Winehouse was in the old repertoire.
And have you had any remedies to get better?
Yeah, basically, I went out of hours doctor on Sunday because I was very panicked that I had no voice at all.
Was it just nothing, like you couldn't
Genuinely, like, just breath was coming out. Just ill breath.
Yeah,
and
calling people on the phone. It's Mel.
Like Darth Vader, basically. And they said, gargle salt water, which does make me feel sick.
Yeah.
I'm doing the old lemon and honey
Classic
stuff. It's so unfortunate that my whole career is based on communicating audibly.
Yeah. That crossroads when you could have become a mime, but you feel like a fucking idiot now.
Yeah, I do. I feel like such a twat.
Or as you would have said then.
Lovely stuff. But I did see something very exciting on my drive down today. I saw a police chase. Yes, on the M4 after Port Talbot, but not quite in Bridgend.
Okay. The 50 zone?
Yes. No, out of Port Talbot.
Okay.
So we'd gone into the national speed limit and there was a car shooting down the hard shoulder. Next thing, 3 police cars going down the hard shoulder after it. Yes, it was very exciting. A bit of me kind of had FOMO. I wanted to like chase as well just to see what was going on, but I thought better not. But yeah, so if anyone, I'm just going to be like scrolling Twitter today to see what happened. But a police chase. It's like the Wild West.
Yeah, that is exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. Your voice is particularly fitting as well because I actually saw you Saturday night at a silent disco, the one in the museum.
Yes, it was fun, wasn't it?
It is really fun. I fucking love a silent disco.
Yeah, you really took that to heart by making your entire voice silent, didn't you?
I really commit to a bit.
Yeah.
I'm not always funny, but I commit.
Do you reckon people thought you were doing a bit when you're like
just miming along? They were like, "You're allowed to sing, Mel."
What have you been up to, Rob?
I've been gigging. I did a gig last week in the Glee Club in Cardiff Bay, and some people at the end of the gig came up to me and said, "You had a whole table full of Welsh Government advisors in." And then I went, okay.
Oh.
And then they left, and I was like, am I being arrested? That was me driving on the M4. And it scared me. And I don't know.
So did they just said that? They didn't say any like context or
No. A whole group of Welsh Government advisors, and they sort of raised their eyebrows.
And they did an eye. They did the. You know what I'm saying.
Exactly. And I don't know if they expected me to be doing more satirical content rather than me asking. I don't know what I did. We were both at the same gig on Thursday, weren't we?
Yeah.
I don't know what I was talking about.
You were great. I remember
Bless you. So are you.
I remember there was, the bit that stands out for me was you're like, who's the biggest twat in the room? And everyone was very keen.
There were quite a lot of self-confessed twats in. Because the Thursdays at the Glee are really nice. They're really sort of like chilled. It's not Friday, Saturday sort of stag and hen party vibes.
Yeah.
So I always say there's less twats in. And then usually people go, no, well, actually, no. In a full Spartacus kind of moment, everyone sort of outs themselves as twats. Maybe it was the Welsh Government people.
Maybe it was them.
Maybe this is it.
I mean, it's almost sinister, isn't it? There was some Welsh Government advisors
here. Yeah. No, it's proper sort of like mob boss type, like, just so you know. You're in our territory. We are Cardiff Bay, bitch. Like, that's essentially what they were saying to me.
It's like going in for a meeting and just putting a gun on the table but not referencing it. Just being like,
is this their re-election strategy?
Just telling people they're there.
Yeah. We're here. Vote for us. Or your cat gets it.
I mean, realistically, they'll probably just say some like moderately nice things about you, but then do nothing to follow it up.
Yeah, sure.
If history's anything to go by.
Our policy will increase your health in 10 years. Be grateful.
Say thank you. Say thank you now.
I had an interesting experience in the Senedd canteen yesterday. So we're recording this on the Wednesday, and on the Tuesday I was in the Bay. I was doing a talk with a group called Living Streets, which I'll talk about in the next episode. I won't do it this one.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I then went to the Senedd canteen, and a chap came up to me, quite a young lad, adult, but called Brandon. Say his name? I'll say his name. Yes, it's fine. Brandon, who came up and said...
Sorry, it's Brandon, if anybody missed it the first 3 times.
Brandon. His address is here.
As
we'll
you can
put
see,
it on there.
always protect my sources. Not so much my fans. He was very complimentary of the podcast, and he said, I've got your gift. And
You brought it with you?
Gun on the table. Vote for me!
It was a gun. He said, I wanted you to have a unicorn mug. So he's bought a unicorn mug.
No!
That is so sweet.
That's adorable. Should we unbox it? Is this our first ever unboxing?
Yes.
So for those who are listening, it's a pink box covered in unicorns, and the mug is in the shape of a unicorn.
Does it have a little horn?
It does. I think it's got a horn. Robin has revealed it from the from the box.
Oh, and it's got a lovely little... That's from a unicorn tail.
Mate.
Oh, it's so cute, Brandon. This is such a lovely gesture.
Very, very sweet. Thank you, Brandon. I
can't
appreciate
wait to
it.
show Reen when he comes on.
That's the mug that we give him.
I'm not going to say what party Brandon's from, but I am going to say that I'm never going to criticise him ever again.
Interesting.
He's just bought us.
Well done.
But that's a Reform.
Yeah, Reform UK, Brandon.
Oh, how
delightful.
gorgeous.
Hopefully that's in shot there.
Yes.
It's quite cool, isn't it?
Delightful. I really enjoyed doing an unboxing.
That was so lovely.
That
If
was
anybody
so-
wants to send us any more gifts,
Yeah.
we
Anthrax.
loved that. Yeah. Please
absolutely
do.
love that. I felt like Zoella.
Yes. Yeah, what you have to do now to be like TikTok-y is I hold it up to the camera for no reason go,
They love that.
yeah.
Yeah. Is it ASMR type
I think
stuff?
it is.
Just tapping things.
Yeah, just I don't know why.
Absolutely dreadful.
Yeah.
Daryl is having an absolute fit about how he's going to edit that audio as that goes into his ears.
We love you. Thank you so much.
Delightful. Brandon,
Yes.
thank you very much. Appreciate it. The rest of listeners, why haven't you got us a fucking present yet?
Where's our present?
Bitch.
Before we move on to, I've got one more bit of business, which is I got sent this photo by a friend, and they said, "Is this the guy you do the podcast with?"
No, it's going to be another.
Now
movie.
I want to
It's
point
amazing,
out
isn't
it's the one who's a dentist, not the drag queen.
it? Right. just a white man with glasses.
So, listeners, it is a man who is clearly a dentist wearing a mask who basically has Robin's hair and glasses.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I don't even know if he does have your hair. If I'm being honest.
No, he's got hair.
He's got hair.
It's a slight side parting.
And glasses.
Yours is more buoyant than that.
Thank
yes,
you. Yeah,
you've
yeah.
got more of a curl. This is.
Yeah,
waxed.
that's quite wiry.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll stick it on the YouTube as well, just for them to see. But yeah, I thought it was and also the way he felt the need to go, I mean the dentist, not the drag queen.
Yeah,
As if
yeah,
I would
no,
be
yeah,
like,
fair.
oh yeah, that's Will Hayward.
yeah.
On Wednesdays.
Yeah. It greatly amused me because and he was like, don't you think it looks like him? And I was like, not at all.
It's
to
just
be
another
honest.
man with glasses, right?
Yeah.
Another man with round glasses. I look
Yeah.
like any other. I look like 4 people you know. I look like probably a Matthew.
You hide in plain sight, don't you?
Yeah, I think if I ever committed a crime, I would get away with it because you couldn't pick me out of a lineup. That dentist would be going down for life. Full life.
Should we talk politics?
Why not?
Yeah, go on then.
As the weather's getting a little bit better, it's nice to be outside and just see the bit more sunlight. Eating outdoors, al fresco Welsh cuisine. You
Well
guys?
fresco?
Well fresco.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
very,
love it.
very nice. I really like the sort of pop-up foodie places though. It's nice, isn't it? Like proper nice little day out.
Yeah, outside street food. Well, do you know what is great to get some street food out of if you do want to dine al fresco? Is a shipping container restaurant or eatery.
They don't need planning permission, do they?
They don't need the same kind of planning permission.
Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely true, because they're temporary. You can plug and go as well.
Yeah, plug in and play.
Exactly. And also, you don't need the same commitment as bricks and mortar. You don't need the same planning permission. So it's a really good kind of shop front for your food business.
So if you want to quit the rat race and live the dream and
Yeah,
be
yeah.
somebody selling their food for sweet, sweet dollar,
My goodness gracious.
A great place to do it would be a shipping container.
I'm really hungry.
Absolutely. Should we all go find our own individual shipping container eatery now and then report back which one was the best?
Makes me think a bit like Roller Coaster Tycoon or Theme Park, where you used to sort of like, did you ever do
theme
that?
park.
Yes.
I love theme park world.
Yeah.
That's great stuff. If you were to get a shipping container, where would you go?
Where would I go?
Yeah, where would you purchase a shipping container from?
I would go for the Lion Containers. I think that's the only obvious choice, to be honest
I think
with
that's
you.
fair enough. Stupid question.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah, where can we find them? I think it's www.lioncontainers.co.uk.
I think it is there.
Yeah.
We should go there now.
Yeah, let's go now.
I would like to start with an article I saw on The Guardian. Have you heard of The Guardian?
Never heard of it. It feels a bit fringy.
Yeah.
A bit.
Have you heard of The Guardian?
Yeah, really right-wing.
Yeah, it is now. There was an article that I found quite interesting, basically suggesting that negative news stories and distrust among reasons given by audiences as the industry works out how to keep people engaged. So people are switching off the news; they're not engaging it with anymore. In terms of like they might have had BBC Breakfast on or something in the morning, or listen to something on the radio, and people are switching off the news because of the amount of sort of negative news stories. And I find it really interesting because I don't know whether we're hearing more negative news stories or whether it's just our consumption of the news in general. I get sort of BBC breaking news alerts. I wake up to finding out that people have died.
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of miles away. Like it's I don't know what we can do about it though. Obviously, the people that listen to this podcast are going out of their way to engage with things, but I think that people often say like, oh, if you can inform people, we want our voters to be informed. But I think there is an overwhelming amount of information at the moment that seems to be going the other direction.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I am the news. Some of it, occasionally.
Remember this for
Clip that right now.
This is 100% it.
I am the news.
What I meant was I work in the news. I never get the shit from Brandon. I turn off like a lot of it, like when it's going on, just because it's like there's only so much someone can take. But I think part of it is I like to engage with news where you can see, even if something's bad, if there's a way of it being fixed, and you feel like there's hope, and you feel like there's like something you can do. Like when say there's like fires or flooding, and you see people being helped, and like that's actually news that is like, okay, I can engage with that because I can see something's been done, and politics also should be a vehicle for improving life, shouldn't it? But so often now we have news and it's just like, well, this is happening. It's really bad. Apparently there's nothing we can do about it. And that is, I think that is that feeling of hopelessness is the hardest part.
I think the pandemic probably had a big part to play in that as well, because it felt like we were just being bombarded with bad information that, not that, I think human nature is to be a bit selfish or self-centered. So, before people might have turned on the news and it was on in the background and there was a war happening in a country they haven't heard of and it could be in the background. But all of a sudden during the pandemic, news coverage was all of these bad things that are happening to us right here that are going to affect you. Yeah. And I think there were people who just wanted to disengage with it. We're like, I can't take that anymore. And I think that has definitely changed the way that people consume negative information. And I understand it. When people say to me, I just don't watch the news, there's no judgment from me whatsoever, because I get it. Because how rare is it that you turn on the news and there's a nice story? And it's quite funny, actually, because I think different outlets, TV news-wise, do cover stuff more than others. So, for instance, ITV News, the late night one, I find always throw in like, what I want to call, I don't mean this in a disparaging way, a cute story.
And finally,
yes,
that squirrel is water skiing.
Yes, exactly. Or, an elephant orphan has been kind of adopted by a panda or something like that.
I'm watching that.
Biologically, don't know how it works, but, something like that. Whereas you don't really get that on BBC, which I understand, or it's very rare that you do, and so on. So I think I understand why people don't, but the problem is by not knowing what's going on in the world around you, you can't change it. And that's a lot to put on somebody. Some people don't want to. We've spoken about climate change before on the podcast, and I was very honest with you guys that there's a bit of me that goes, there are people out there who know a lot more than me, and I'm going to let them sort it, and I'm going to do what they tell me to do. So I'm going to play my part, but I'm going to let them, but I'm not going to panic because I can't change it. Yeah. And I think there are some people who are like that about the news. Like, they're like, I can't do anything about it, so I don't need to know.
I think that's the frustrating thing with like things like climate change, isn't it? Because it's not even that there's a problem and we're trying to fix it. There's a problem, and some people in really high positions of authority, you know, presidents, don't even acknowledge that the problem exists.
Very true.
And that is like, I was seeing like Live Aid, 1985, 2 years of there was a 2-year famine in Ethiopia. Do you think if that happened now, it would even register in like the list of not Live Aid, but like there's a famine? Like I feel like everyone is so news saturated that all sort of stuff going on in the world. Even if they did Live Aid, people would go, yeah, but what about X, Y, and Z? Why aren't you covering this?
I think that's the thing. I think, you know, when the news really started covering what was happening in Gaza and so on, there was obviously so much attention put on that. But then you had a lot of people going, well, you haven't cared about Congo, and you haven't cared about this, and you haven't cared about that. Which,
Sudan.
Yeah, exactly. Which is a fair point. And, you know, at the end of the day, there are, you know, not enough attention was given to those other things that were happening in the world. But at the same time, as humans, I don't have the capacity to be on top of everything bad that is happening.
And also having an opinion on something as well. I think that like the rise of socials and the idea of like commenting under news articles, that sort of like vibe of things being like, sometimes it's fine to be going, actually, I haven't read up enough about this story. I don't really know anything about it. I'm going to listen to like lots of, can you come back to me in about a week and I'll have an opinion on it basically. And maybe I won't at that point. I think that's, you don't hear very much of that, do you? It has to be black and white immediately. Which side are you on? I think that's quite reductive, isn't it?
The ability of people just to sometimes shut up and just not know. I appreciate I'm saying this as someone who has a podcast and a newsletter and is writing a book. All is basically just my opinions.
But also if you've researched and you know about, you're not doing it on anything.
Like,
you're not doing it on just anything.
Yeah, I don't do a newsletter about what's happening in Sudan because I don't really properly understand it. And most people say they don't.
Yeah, but also like you don't have to. Do you know what I mean? You specialise in what you do.
Yeah.
And I think it would actually be remiss of you to go, and here's my opinion on Sudan. Yeah. Even though I don't know half the facts.
I mean, I can do the broad brushstrokes, like I think ethnic cleansing is bad. And I'm willing to go on record on that.
Yeah, for balance.
But your ill laugh after that.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I love it.
It's like, do you remember Rita Repulsa from Power Rangers?
No, I don't.
She was like the first villain. You had Rita Repulsa, and then it was Lord Zed came in.
I remember Lord Zed.
Lord Zed was her husband.
Wow,
like Rita Repulsa was the original villain.
That's so bad that I only remember the man.
Their minion was, well.
We've always said this.
To be fair,
bigger.
You don't know enough about this to be able to properly comment on it. So
there we go.
Broad brush. And to be fair, the main character in it was Goldar, who was like the original bad one. And anyway.
So Sudan, Will.
Sudan, so let me talk about Sudan.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting article, and considering that I consume a lot of media, it's interesting to sort of, as we talk about, you know, how do we reach people on the doorstep, voters of Wales, you know, how is that going to work when people are switching off the news? You know?
Yeah, I think that's what we tried to do with this pod, isn't it? It's supposed to be an accessible way into politics, and not just because we talk about things in fairly simple way in plain English, it's also because we aren't just, it's not supposed to be endlessly miserable.
Yeah, totally. And, you know, when we finally get the government backing to have this blared into people's homes like 1984, I think...
Yeah, when they open their fridge, it just plays.
Yeah, big time. It's just all of us in the fridge.
Have a little snack.
Yeah.
You open it and it just goes, Runicorn. Cool. I think it's time we become the 8th millionth person to talk about the spring statement.
Nice.
Last week, Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, stood up and she talked about the spring statement and changes that were going to be made to benefits. I want to focus on the benefit side of it at the moment. So there's been quite a few changes in the last few weeks. So the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, Liz Kendall, announced previous to this some changes to sickness and disability payments. So it basically meant that they'll be increasing the threshold of disability severity needed to be awarded personal independence payment, which is called PIP. So basically, you need to be more disabled to receive personal independence payment. The removal of universal credit health-related top-ups for those under 22. Apparently, you know, no one under 22 is ever ill or has a disability. And halving the universal health credit-related top-up for new claimants. So it makes it people who are going into it will get less. So then the spring statement added to this. So they reduced the amount that the standard universal credit would rise by. So they're not increasing as much, and freezing the universal credit health element for new claimants. So it's already frozen for people currently getting it. So Overall, this will save about 4.8 billion across the UK, not just Wales, 4.8 billion with the changes to PIP, so that independence payment for disabled people being the largest change. And it will impact people by about £4,500 a year, which is pretty substantial. Yeah. Across the UK, it will push 250,000 people, including 50,000 children, into poverty. Okay, so do you remember how we said our podcast isn't depressing and actually people don't turn off?
Here we are.
Now, how does this affect Wales? So it affects Wales disproportionately. So Wales is more affected than the rest of the UK because of our higher levels of poverty and our higher levels of unemployment. So in Wales, there are 275,000 people who receive PIP and 110,000 people who receive universal credit and have limited capability for work-related activity. So that's 11% of our working population compared to 7% in England. So
it's massive, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really, really massive. The analysis of this comes from Guito Ivan, who is an academic at Cardiff University's Wales Governance Centre. And he said, we would expect these impacts of these cuts to be particularly pronounced in Wales. We would expect to see the greatest impact in areas which have the highest claimant proportions and relatively low average per person payments, areas such as Merthyr and Blaenau Gwent, which if you look at any maps of deprivation, they're like the epicentre. We've talked about poverty before and how you can't fix the NHS without fixing poverty. This is a direct action which will push more people into poverty. Have you? Because this has been fairly big news. You guys have seen this raised in lots of places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know people, who are going to be directly affected, which goes to prove how big this is. Do you know what it really is? It's going to affect so many people. And in terms of the PIP stuff, something that somebody said to me was that it is a payment to encourage or to support disabled people whilst they are in part-time work. So it's like a top-up. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So there is an argument that by taking this away, that makes it more feasible for people to be on full-time disability benefit, because just being in part-time work, and they might not, because of their disability, be able to be in full-time work, it then might push it the other way, where they end up having to just be on disability benefit because without the top-up, they cannot afford to remain in part-time work. Have I explained that?
Yeah, so essentially what it is to help people with living costs if you have long-term physical, mental health condition or disability and difficult doing certain everyday tasks.
Sure.
So there's two parts. There's the daily living part, which is to help with the tasks, and then there's the mobility part, which is to kind of help getting around. So there will certainly be people who are then less able to get around, and that could have an effect on, if you want to see human beings in this way, on their productivity, and things like that. So it is absolutely an issue. I mean, there's so many things you could go into with how we assess disability. So what's annoying is for some people, even if you're quadriplegic, so no arms, no legs, you have to still be reassessed every 3 years as though they might have grown back. It's crazy. There's so many issues with it. It's quite an inhumane system in lots of ways.
And with the new system of PIP, which, forgive me, is it going completely?
So basically with PIP, they are increasing the threshold of disability severity.
Right, okay,
sure.
Sure.
So somebody who might have been eligible might now no longer be eligible.
And they'll have to obviously reapply for this in a new assessment.
Yeah. So,
I mean, it's this kind of stuff from on a human level as well. I'm sure the vast majority of people would feel like you want to work to sort of have
you want to be independent,
exactly,
autonomous,
And I mean, I've seen a lot of friends talk about it on social media and things, and how it feels like this is a part of society which can be, completely just thrown under the bus, I suppose. In terms of trying to help the economy, as if it's not going to affect people's lives. It will plunge people into poverty. People will die as a result of this, right?
There's a human cost.
Yeah,
it's not just the economy. The economy is there to improve the quality of life of people.
Yeah.
We are not there to improve the economy.
Yeah, and I think if you do that, as a cross section of another 7 to 11% of our society, people would be in uproar. Right?
So the UK government will argue that the amount of people claiming this payments has gone up really significantly, and actually they think this is actually unsustainable, and they're right, it probably isn't sustainable, but the other point to say is, have you seen how long waiting lists are? Have you seen how long it is to get treatment for stuff? All of these things, if you're waiting for 3 years for any particular ailment, by the time it comes to treat it, that is going to be worse. So I don't think you need to look too much at cause and effect. It's not lots of people have suddenly thought, oh, I feel like scrounging now. Like, there are real significant impacts which are set, the way our society is now set up and the challenges we have in public services directly result in more people claiming. So, and then you have issues where that increases the level of poverty, which then in turn makes worse health outcomes, which then spirals and spirals and spirals. And then you see this increase. And actually just saying, well, we're going to make it harder for you to claim. I've spoken to lots of Labour MPs who are really, really upset about it, who have said, this is not why I kind of got into politics to vote for this.
This is not sit right with the party messaging.
Well, this is it. And I think I saw this in FMQs, sort of, I think it was Delith,
Jewel?
I think it was Delith Jewel talking about this, that you'd kind of expect this from a Conservative Westminster government. There's a precedent there, but I think people, as Uncle Keir told us, we were voting for change. We were voting for something different,
and it feels very much the same.
Yeah. And I think that's what is rowing people up the wrong way as well. The fact that you would expect a Labour Party to be acting in a very different way to this.
So there was one Labour MP who in Wales who spoke up against it. It was the Montgomeryshire and Glyndŵr MP Steve Witherden, who
the milkman.
Yes, I was going to say the man who
the milk, the man who drank
in
the
the
milk.
Commons.
He got chastised for drinking milk in the Commons because that's against the rules. I mean, all the shit that MPs do, and like
drinking
milk.
If he'd have had a cheeky Nesquik, I think everyone would have been fine.
Yeah, I think so.
Strawberry, banana, lock him up.
Yeah.
Strawberry, legend.
I quite like a banana.
Do you?
Like a banana? A banana milkshake or a banana?
I mean, both will.
He's a wild guy.
Yeah. Dip one into the other.
Most meta thing ever.
Dipping banana into a banana milkshake.
No,
unpeeled.
other way around.
Like dipping a chicken into an egg.
Having an existential nightmare.
So he issued a statement where he said, if you think about things like a mobility car, it's PIP that is enabling some disabled people to continue to work. So I don't think we would want to see anything that would jeopardise or undermine anything that facilitates disabled people getting to work and staying in work. There's a lot of concern out there from disabled constituents in Montgomeryshire and Glyndŵr who are writing to me about the future of PIP and they want to stay independent. I was one of the 30 MPs who was a signatory to an open letter calling for a wealth tax in this country, a tax on extreme wealth. 4 Britons have more wealth than 20 million Britons combined. So I think there are solutions out there, and a wealth tax could be one of them. Now, he's quite an interesting guy. So he only really got into politics in 2015, and that was in part down to George Osborne's reforms to disability benefit. So this was kind of why he came into it. But the reason I want to draw attention to him,
can we just confirm his party?
He is Labour.
Right.
He's Labour. And the reason I kind of draw attention to him is he's speaking up. And one of the reasons he's able to speak up, in my view, is that he isn't in a safe seat at all. So Montgomeryshire and Glyndŵr was Craig Williams. Do you remember the Tory MP who made the bet?
Flutter.
Yeah, Flutter.
Yeah.
The one who made the bet and essentially lost the Tories their only safe seat in Wales. Now, Labour and probably Steve Witherden himself would have said, oh yeah, we always had a chance of winning that seat. I would have been surprised if they had.
I would have put a bet on
it. If I was a betting man, I would have been the original MP for Montgomeryshire and Glyndŵr. But he, because he's not got a safe seat, he needs to be much more visible in speaking up for his constituents, doesn't he? He needs to be able to say, there's much more onus on him to please his constituents than please his party higher-ups, isn't it? And that is, I think, the real problem with safe seats. And that's another problem with the list system that we've brought in Welsh parliaments. I think in Welsh parliamentary elections, is that actually the onus on elected members, whether they're MSs or MPs, is to please the people high up in their party, not their people who voted for them. Whereas this guy is like, well, I might only have 4 years here. I need to make an impact. And actually, you tend to not be as long-term career-minded because you want...
But also, isn't it mad that if in any other job, if you could be like, oh, God, I've got to do something in the next 4 years, to go into something and you get a job is fucking insane. That is like a very impressive bar. Wow, I've only got 4 years here.
To really do something.
Yeah, as opposed to going, well, 2 decades here, absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But also, I think that I respect it, though. I respect him going, right, I'm not... There are people who would want to please the higher ups in order to be shoved into a safe seat next time or to be given a bit more party support next time. He clearly is not that kind of bothered about that.
Yeah.
So there's the other side of who's going, I'm not safe. I could be doing things to make myself safer, but I'm not. And therefore, let me kick up a fuss.
Yeah, I always like people like that who really sort of have these issues that they are really, really passionate about and aren't willing to get trodden into which is, I think, a reason why people are disengaging with, politics and feeling like they're all the same because parties can start to blur into one, if everyone's just going, let me be clear. I have been clear on this.
I have been very clear in everything I said. You have not.
If everybody I will vote for somebody who shows me their fingers. That's what I've decided. In the Senate election, if people the next person to bravely point during an interview, I'll be like, yes, you've got my fucking vote, mate, because this is driving me utterly insane.
For audio listeners, Robin is kind of fisting almost.
Yeah. That's and that will get an uptick in the YouTube views because they will go, what do you mean, Will? Why is Robin fisting something?
Yeah, where you can see where people have been on a YouTube video and it's just the fisting
That's
section.
Exactly it.
Towards the Renicorn mug for some reason. But I don't know the milkman personally, but
the milkman?
The milkman. But this sounds like the kind of person who should be a politician, right?
Yeah, well, I say he should because he's really badly dyslexic and so am I. So I feel like we are solidarity in our terribleness at Scrabble.
Yeah.
But then maybe, not to be, patronising, but, he has an understanding of what it's like to need a system that supports you, because there would have been a time where dyslexia was not supported at all within a school system, within education. You probably would not have ended up in a job that was quote unquote highbrow and so on, or high earning. So he knows what it's like to need support, and so I would hope that he continues in this vein.
Yeah. Do you think that MPs should be like jury duty?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I am at some of the general public, no. I don't even think jury duty should be jury duty, to be honest with you. If I was up for something, if I was on trial for something, and some of the people I know on the jury, I would be terrified.
How much would you be playing up your whiteness?
Exactly. I'd be whiting up big time. I would be. Those straighteners would go through my hair like nobody's business. My mum would be in the dog. I'd be like, I don't even know her. I don't know her. I would throw her under the bus so quick. I'd be like, do you know what? Deport her. That's how I feel about them.
What you let into that.
That really unlocked something in me. I'm so sorry, guys.
Like
anyway,
this obviously presents a problem for Leonard Morgan because unlike Rachel Reeves, she's got to fight an election in a year's time, whereas Rachel Reeves has got another 3 years over 3 years before she has to do that. So they don't need to have the same level of public support at the moment, whereas Leonard Morgan does. And her entire sale was that having an alliance of the two sides of the M4, Labour in Wales, Labour in Westminster, this can only be good for Wales. This is quite a hard sell to make. So I hate going into like minutiae of who said, she said in politics, but I'm just going to...
I personally love it.
Spill the tea.
Like Plaid were really going on about has there been any independent risk assessments for Wales on this? Like what impact is this going to have on Wales, these changes? Because and so they went to the Welsh government. The Welsh government were like, no, we haven't done any. That's for the UK government to do. So I went to the UK government but then Leonard Morgan said she'd written to Liz Kendall, who's the Labour MP in the UK government, and I'd asked her, and then apparently Liz Kendall had replied. So then we asked the Welsh government for that, and they said we can't give you it. And then Plaid went all nuts, going, "Well, this is secretive." The Renicorn put out a statement saying how this is really like secretive. This is an open government. And then I went to the Welsh government and said, I'm acting like this is just a triangle between me, Plaid and Labour. It actually isn't. I'm a very small cog in this. But I went to the Welsh government and said, why haven't you released this letter? And they said, it's not a matter of secrecy, it's a matter of courtesy. We didn't send the letter, so it's for the Department for Work and Pensions to release the letter. So then I went to the Department for Work and Pensions and was like, can you release the letter? And then, I'm not saying this was because I went to them, but they did then release the letter. It wasn't because I went to them.
Big Willie Hayward.
Yeah. Do you know what this is giving? You're the admin of the WhatsApp group.
That's
You're the
very
one.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put up a poll saying,
Yeah.
can people just tick whether they're going to release the letter, please?
And then you had to throw off a few side messages to separately. Can you please respond in the main group,
Yeah,
please?
in the main group, could you please just fucking play
Do you-
ball? Is that all right?
Do you ever do that where you like you'll message like the main mover and shaker? Because you know if they do it, everyone will realise
Oh,
it's not doing it.
100%. In every group, there's a main character, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Claire says she's coming to Cocktail Friday. Everyone's coming to Cocktail Friday.
Yeah.
We've talked before about how there's a bit of tension growing between the UK government and the Welsh government because the Welsh government don't feel like they're getting enough from their Labour counterparts in London. So Eluned Morgan was asked about whether she supports the changes to disability benefit. She was asked this by inside a committee for scrutiny of the First Minister, and this is what she said. This has got the longest silence in history in it, so
Great.
Stay with me.
Have yet to get a firm understanding of how that will impact on Wales, and until I'm clear about the impacts, I want to reserve my position in relation to that.
Well, that's very different to what the Secretary of State said, because she's on record as saying that the First Minister wrote supporting the reforms we're making, and I was really pleased to see backing for those reforms. So is she wrong?
Well, look, I'm telling you my position, okay? My position is that I want to see absolute clarity on what the impact on Wales is. And until I get a firm view on that, I don't want to make a judgment until I know.
So for listeners, well, for anyone listening, your earphones didn't cut out.
I'm clammy just at the awkwardness of that.
I feel like I'm in trouble.
Yes, yeah. But it feels like she was completely, not blindsided, because it's a bit like thrown under the bus, kind of. It was a gotcha moment.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And I think Claire was looking for that, right?
Yeah.
It was like, well, that's not what she said.
Yeah, Claire was the Plaid Cymru MS who asked that question, the one you could hear in there. Now,
I see his TikToks quite regularly.
he's got, or someone in his office has got quite good TikTok.
Yeah.
That does feel, though, that there is just the lack of working between UK government and Welsh government, given that they are the same party now and yet not working together.
Plaid interpreted that silence as, oh God, no, I've been caught. I did support them. Actually, speaking to people around the First Minister, I think that was more anger at the Secretary of State for Wales.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I interpreted it. Yeah.
I'm biting my tongue here. Like,
Yeah.
It felt like that.
So in First Minister's questions yesterday, she was asked, and I got the impression that she was going to try and hit back on that, because she's in a tricky position, because Joe Stevens, the first Secretary of State for Wales, who they were talking about, has, whether on purpose or not, inadvertently or not, thrown her Eluned Morgan under the bus, because she's basically said, oh yeah, she supports it. So she's either done that deliberately and said it because she's like, you got to get on board with the programme,
yeah, sure.
or she's just floundered in an interview and just said, oh yeah, Eluned Morgan supports it. I could totally believe either of those scenarios.
Sure.
So the First Minister needs to tread a bit of a fine line, because she doesn't want to have a massive pop at her UK counterparts, because she doesn't think there'll be anything useful that will come from that long term. But in First Minister's questions, she was asked about it, and she said, I've had somebody else this week trying to speak for me. I can speak for myself. Speaking to people around it, she was referring directly to Joe Stevens there. She was...
It is.
On the table.
She also responded to the Unicorn, saying, I've had lots of people trying to put words in my mouth these days, haven't I? You've summarised my position. I've had somebody else try and speak for me. I speak for myself. I speak for the Welsh Government. The UK Government can speak up for itself, and they can defend their positions. I will defend the positions of Welsh Labour Government here in Wales. It's come out swinging.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
has. And she's going to perform at the Super Bowl halftime show as well, which is great news for her.
Oh my days. That is quite explosive. That is. And I imagine she's very angry at the situation.
These threads of discontent are, it's nowhere near, I think, yet as acrimonious as it got between like Rhodri Morgan's government and Tony Blair's.
Sure.
I think that was quite a lot more in the noughties. But obviously this is only going for 9 months, and the pressure of losing seats hasn't quite kicked in yet. So, but I get the impression she is quite annoyed about it because it's kind of left her in the worst of both worlds. Like, she's had to have a go at her own party in London, but she's also been perceived as looking weak here in Wales. So, God, I wouldn't want her job for anything.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Gosh, I tell you, just stepping back just ever so slightly on like the budget, is that it's been sold very much as Rachel Reeves's project, and Keir Starmer's name is not being floated around in it whatsoever, which is very, very interesting in terms of the party machine there, and them knowing how unpopular it is going to be, and making it very much Rachel Reeves's problem and not entwining Keir Starmer in that at all.
I hadn't spotted that at all, actually.
Yeah,
the fact that,
all the papers, it was Rachel Reeves on all of the front pages. Keir Starmer's nowhere to be heard.
BBC Radio Wales Breakfast interviewed her on the show last week, and she was a little bit late to the media pools. They had to push the 9 o'clock show back a few minutes, so I was delayed by Rachel Reeves. It's quite fun, isn't it?
Look, it's having impact on all of us directly.
So
Yeah,
are
well,
you
exactly.
saying she hit your productivity?
She did, actually, yeah.
Get some pip.
Already.
I had to play Push It by Salt and Pepper 2 minutes later than normal.
Oh,
Dreadful.
It's a hard day for the nation. That
There we
was.
go. How
there
do we
will
recover?
be some old boy in the valley somewhere absolutely fuming about
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
There's lots of other stuff that she said. I think we've talked about it for long enough now. But next week we're going to go into some of the stuff that she said around things like the Constitution, the Crown Estate, because it got quite fiery. Yeah, so I think we it's a really, really tense time, and I think the fault lines of how the next year are going to play out are kind of been laid at the moment.
Sure.
But there is deep discontent within elements of Welsh Labour, especially among the backbenchers. I've got a piece in The Guardian coming out in the coming days, which kind of reflects some of the sentiments as well. And unfortunately, I can't just give them all away on the podcast. We are now on the hunt. We're on the podcast.
On the prowl.
We're on the podcast version of Tinder, looking for sponsors.
Absolutely. We would like to chat to anyone who feels like they want to work with us, really. Sort of, you can be, there are lots of different ways that you can sponsor us, financially, emotionally, just vibes, anything at all, really. So you can get in touch with us via the Instagram. We're also fullwalescwales@gmail.com. So if you want to get in touch, and we can do lots of bespoke things, we can do flash mob dances, we can do anything at all, really.
Was very good.
And we're keen to sort of work with Welsh businesses as well.
Yeah.
I think that this is, you'll have noticed that we haven't sponsored certain products or firms, which I think people can do.
Put
in
it
the
this way:
podcast
if we
world.
were happy to be sponsored by a gambling company, we could be arriving in limos to the
Yeah,
pod,
yeah.
but we don't want to be. For people who are considering sponsoring, the thing I would say is you are essentially going into the ears of some of the leading decision makers in Wales. It's a super
Called Mel Owen.
it is a super engaged audience, and it's also a way of associating yourself with a really trusted brand in Wales. Hopefully, I think that we've got to that stage.
Absolutely. I'm off to Ladbroke. See you later.
On a sponsorship Tinder, just as with normal Tinder, I will swipe right if you have a lot of money.
Yeah.
So
Any more for any more, guys?
No, I'm fine. Thank you very much. I'm full.
you have a new tour to promote, though.
Oh shit! Yeah, I've just announced the new tour. It starts next year, January 2026, and runs until May, when the Senate elections are, when I'll be completely just voting every day. I don't know how it works. And you can go on my website, robinjmorgan.co.uk, and I'm going all over Wales and all over the UK. And today, the day we're recording this, Edinburgh shows have just gone on sale. So I'm doing 3 different shows at the Edinburgh Festival for the first week. If you're up and about there, busy boy.
So when you said you had nothing to mention, you actually had shit.
Yeah, tons.
So much that it was almost went full circle to the point where, like, do you know what? I won't bother.
I think it's just
so
because
much.
I'm just my mind is mush at
Yeah.
the moment, and
Yeah.
I'm just overwhelmed by it all. But
Yes.
you know, we keep swimming, Will. We keep
Thank you,
swimming
Dory.
well. Yeah, absolutely.
Melanie?
I am doing a new hour at Machynlleth Comedy Festival on the Sunday on the 4th of May. So please come if you would like to. I have an uncomfortably big venue.
What venue are you in?
So I think I'm in the rugby club, but I've got
Nice.
80 seats, which is a lot for Muggins
You'll
over here.
sell it.
So
You'll sell
please
it out.
come if you're at the festival. It's such a fun festival.
It's beautiful.
It's like my favourite weekend of the year.
It's good vibes. It's it's curated by brilliant people who love comedy, and the audiences there over the last sort of 10 to 15 years have just built up this wonderful, good vibe where there's no reviewers and there's no agents and there's no
it's
sort
the
of
people
like
trying actual
totally.
comedy.
It feels like
shit,
there's like
man.
art there,
Yes,
you know, like
yeah.
Pure comedy.
Yeah. No, it's and for some reason the sun is always shining.
Yes, it's always lovely.
It's always great.
Yeah.
May Day bank holiday. It's it's great. I can't wait.
You and I are doing a radio record together on the Sunday morning.
Yes, we are.
Yes, in the big. Is it in the leisure centre?
Which they call the Mach Arena.
Yes, which I find so funny.
Oh my God,
Very, very strong.
Yeah.
So that's on the Sunday. Saturday, I'm doing a work in progress, but I think it's sold out. But that earlier on, I'm doing a kids show, I'm doing a family friendly show. So if you've got kids and
wonderful.
you're up there, come along to that. And I'm also doing a show on the Friday night with my friend SLT's friend of the show.
first dates thing?
We're doing a dating show live. So if you are single and you want to have a date in front of an audience, you can come along to that. We've done one in Cardiff before. It's absolutely brilliant. It's so much fun.
That sounds awesome.
Could we do Will there with sponsors?
Oh my goodness gracious. Swiping for sponsorship.
Yes, we'll do that.
I speed date sponsors.
Yeah.
Yes.
Will, sponsor number 1 is BAE Systems.
How many children have you killed?
Oh, well.
Well, you ruin the fun all the time.
I take the sponsorship. Don't you?
Yeah, sure.
Always got to eat.
Yeah.
Have you got anything to promote?
I have a newsletter. It's called the Will Hayward newsletter. Subscribe to it,
It's
please.
very good.
It is good.
It's very good, yes. Guys, I have been a very croaky Mel Owen.
You sound better than you did at the start.
Guys, this is the effect you have on me.
Bless you.
I'm glowing from the inside.
Bless you. I've been Robin Morgan.
And I'm Will Hayward.
Bye.
Bye.